I'm a technical assistant and he is a technical assistant as well. Today, we're going to be introducing everyone to virtual machines. It's a fairly simple topic, but it's important to go through the basics, establish your fundamental concepts before we tackle more difficult ones. And who knows, you might learn a new thing or two. So here we go. If you haven't already, here are some download links for the hypervisor we're going to be using, as well as the virtual machines for Kali Linux and Ubuntu. We did send out an announcement with these links before, but if you haven't downloaded them yet, you should download them right now. And hopefully by the time we're done with the presentation portion, you'll be ready to follow Luis along with the actual lab. So we're going to start off by explaining what VMs are, the basics of them, their uses. After that, we're going to go more in depth into how virtual machines can be used by looking at the differences between Kali Linux and Ubuntu, and also at some of the functions that Virtualbox has. Then I'm going to hand it over to Luis, where he's going to walk you through installing Kali Linux and Ubuntu onto your own virtual machines. And after that, we're going to have a Q&A session. But please, if you ever have any questions, feel free to just ask them, type them out in the chat, or even just interrupt me. It's always good to ask questions, and don't feel like you have to wait until the end to actually ask. So here we go. First, what are virtual machines? In their extremely simplest form, virtual machines are basically computers inside computers. A more nuanced definition would be a virtual computer inside a physical computer. Now, all of you are accessing this Zoom session throughout your own device, right? It's probably going to be a computer, and on your computer, you have an operating system. This could be Windows, Mac, or for you tech-savvy people, Linux. Your computer has components like RAM, CPU, the motherboard, and a power supply. And what the operating system does is it uses these hardware components to power it. Now, a virtual computer can't have its own physical hardware, right? So what it would do is it would take some of the resources of your computer, share them, and then power its guest operating system through that. There are a lot of uses for VMs. At their core, they're sandboxes, which means that creativity is really only limit with what you could do with them. I've listed some examples of what you could do, but trust me, there's a whole world out there of what VMs could be used for. The first one that I listed was the ability to run different operating systems. With VMs, you're able to experiment with different OSs like Linux or Mac. And this is especially useful if there's programs that you want to use that you can't use with your host OS. For example, let's say you're running a Windows machine, but you're really into music production and want to run Logic Pro. You could install a Mac OS virtual machine and then run Logic Pro through that virtual machine. You could also run outdated software on VMs. You're usually going to have the most updated software on your host machine, but if you want to play like really old games like Space Pinball, what you could do is you could download a Windows 2012 VM and then play it through there. So it's really good for running software that's not supported today, but has been supported in the past. And VMs are especially useful for lab environments. Because they're sandboxes, they're really good for testing different operating systems and really saying how it all interacts. You could create your own environments, penetrate test them, and do all sorts of things just to learn. Now, on the business side, virtual machines are very good for hardware efficiency. If you're a CEO and you have a limited hardware, you have a limited office space, but really good hardware, what you could do is you could virtualize a lot of machines using that really good hardware. This allows you to use multiple machines, albeit in a really small space, by compressing all of them using the really high-tech resources of one. You can also use this for application testing as well. On the right, there's two huge white computers, which signify the production environment. But in one of the computers, you can see that there's two smaller computers linked together. That's basically a copy of the production environment. But let's say that you wanted to test out applications before deploying them to your actual production environment. Because you haven't really tested this application before, it's good to test it in a virtualized setting. So if something goes wrong, you know that it won't affect your actual production environment. For example, let's say you download some open source application off of GitHub and you haven't really read the code on what it does. So you unknowingly installed a worm. This worm would travel throughout your VM, your virtualized environment, infecting the other computer. But since it's virtualized, you can make it so that it won't affect your real production environment, making it so that you could test applications very safely. Really useful. Now, virtual machines are created and managed by software known as hypervisors. These are also called virtual machine managers. And true to their name, what they do is they create and manage the VMs. There are two main types of virtual machine managers that we're going to be talking about. The first is type 1, and it's called bare metal. And the second is type 2, and it's called hosted. Type 1 hypervisors are called bare metal hypervisors because what they do is they run directly on physical hardware. In the diagram on the left, you can see that there's hardware at the very bottom. The hypervisor is built directly on top of that. And then your guest operating systems or your virtual machines would be run on top of the hypervisor. Now, because there is no interference between the hardware and the hypervisor, type 1 hypervisors are very efficient. They run super fast. This is why you also see them a lot in enterprise use. But the downside is that it requires dedicated hardware. You can't just install a hypervisor on your host machine. You have to go out and buy new servers, new disks to run that type 1 hypervisor. It is also kind of harder to install. You would have to do a different process than just downloading a software that does it all for you. Here's an example of what a type 1 hypervisor looks like. This is using the vSphere client. It's the web client that allows people to access the hardware through the internet. And Swift used this a lot for its CCDC and CPTC tryouts in the summer. It was a really fun time. But the really great thing about this is that it allows people to use virtual machines, even if they don't have the hardware resources to run it themselves. Let's see, Jose asks, if it needs dedicated hardware, then is it still virtual? Yeah, it's virtual in a sense, because you're not going to have a host operating system on top of that. It's going to be interacting directly with the hardware using those resources directly. Yeah, really fun time. This is an absolute monster of a system. The Telco Lab has extremely high-tech resources. I'm not really sure what the specifications are. I just know that I can't afford it. That's how good it is. And it was really useful for CPTC because a lot of people didn't have the hardware resources on their host computers to run multiple virtual machines at the same time. So they were able to access the Telco Lab through a VPN. And then with that, able to run virtual machines using the Telco Lab's hardware. And there are other versions of type 1 hypervisors that aren't listed here, but the common ones are VMware vSphere ESXi and Microsoft Hyper-V. There's also something called Proxmox. I think it's more attuned to mail though. Now we're going to be talking about type 2 hypervisors. These run on top of the host operating system. So unlike type 1 hypervisors in which the hypervisor was directly on the hardware, you would have the host operating system on top of the hardware, and then you would install the hypervisor on top of that. So this would be like having a Windows laptop and installing a type 2 hypervisor program to then run your virtual machines. The downside of this is that even though it's super easy to set up, it shares your hardware resources because you're using your host computer's hardware to run the virtual machine as well. The virtual machine is going to take some resources from that hardware, effectively splitting them. So you are limited greater than a type 1 hypervisor in how much virtual machines you could run because you only have a limited amount of hardware resources. So like I said before, in the CPTC, a lot of people didn't have like 16 gigabytes of RAM, so they didn't have enough hardware resources to share amongst all of their different virtual machines. But if you do have the resources, there is nothing stopping you from running multiple at a time. We're going to be talking about two different types of type 2 hypervisors today. The first is VMware, and the second is Virtualbox. Now, VMware is, there's two versions. There's VMware Workstation Pro and VMware Workstation Player. Workstation Pro requires a paid license. It is also the industry standard. It's often used by enterprises. And CPP does give students a license to use VMware Workstation Pro, but there have been some issues with that, which is why for today's lab, we're going to be introducing you to Virtualbox. It's an open source hypervisor, it's free, and it has a lot of the same functions as a VMware Workstation Pro. Oh, and just as a side note, VMware Workstation Player is free as well, but it has limited features, such as not being able to take snapshots, which you'll see later on why that's not exactly a good thing. Now we're going to be going into how to use a virtual machine. First, what you need to do is check that your computer can actually support virtualization. The easiest way to do this is to press Control-Alt-Delete on your computer, click on Task Manager, and then click on the Performance tab. After that, you could click on CPU and then check to see whether virtualization is enabled, as seen as the highlighted red box. It is enabled by default, so most of you should already see that option available. But if you do follow along with the lab and see that you're not able to get it running correctly, it's good to check this to see whether or not your computer does support it as well. Now we have to decide what virtual machine to install. There's a lot of different operating systems with a lot of different functions, but we're going to be looking at Ubuntu and Kali Linux today. Ubuntu is a very user-friendly operating system. It's super stable, open source, and it's perfect for everyday use. It was actually designed to be an effective alternative to Windows 10. So it has a really nice GUI. It's user-friendly, and you can use this instead of Windows if you feel like, it's better for your tastes. Now, Kali Linux is a different operating system in which it's more dedicated to penetration testing. It comes pre-packaged with a lot of tools and software like Wireshark. And because of this, it is really often used for testing security concepts. With all of its features, it's really good for penetration testing, and that is going to be super useful throughout your cybersecurity career. So we think that these two virtual machines are something that you're going to use a lot, which is why we're going to be walking you through on how to install these. Now let's talk about virtual machine file types. Today, you're going to encounter ISOs and OVAs. Although there's a lot more different file types, these are the ones you're going to be using today. An ISO is an optical disk image. You could think of this as a CD. In your computer, you have like a hard drive that extends out to accept CDs. ISOs are the same thing. And it's the normal process of installing an operating system. For Rosaloo, if virtualization is disabled, you should check how to set it up on your specific hardware. It's pretty different for each hardware that you're using, like depending on your operating system and whatnot. So Google, depending on your specs, and then you're probably going to have to go into the BIOS. And don't worry if you're not able to follow along. This workshop is recorded. So afterwards, once you figure out how to troubleshoot your issue, you can always follow along then. Back to ISOs, they're optical disk images. They function as CDs. Normally, when you install an operating system, you're going to install it by using a CD into a blank computer. With the ISO file type, you essentially do the same thing, except it's not with a physical CD. The OVA is the other file type that we're going to be encountering. The OVA files work with open virtualization formats, or OVF files. And these are kind of different from ISOs in which they have some prepackaged stuff. Like you're going to see once you install Kali Linux with the OVA, there is something called guest editions already installed. So these are more tailored for virtualization, whereas ISOs are like the normal way of installing an operating system. Now we're going to be talking about VM networking. Networking is honestly a pretty difficult concept. I'm not much of a master at it myself, but because of that, I'm going to explain not exactly how it works, but more of what happens. With a host-only VM network, your LAN network is going to be separated from your VMs. While your virtual machines can interact with each other and with the host machine, true to the name of host-only network, they won't be able to access other things like other computers within your home network. In your home network, let's say you have like siblings that use different computers, that would be considered your home network. Your virtual machines cannot be accessed by your sibling's computer. With an internal network, the virtual machines could only interact with each other. They won't be able to interact with the host, they'll only be able to ping with each other. For a bridge network, each virtual machine becomes a part of your LAN network. So let's say your host computer is a part of your LAN network. If you install 3 virtual machines underneath a bridged network, that means that 3 additional machines will be part of your LAN network. It assigns each virtual machine their own unique IP, and then makes it so that they're all part of the same network. Today, we're going to be looking at NAT and NAT networks through the workshop. For a NAT network, the virtual machines aren't able to interact with each other. You're going to see that they're going to be assigned the same IP, and you can't really talk to different machines that have the same IP as you. And Luis is going to walk you through that and why you should use a NAT network if you want to have your virtual machines talk to each other instead. A NAT network is essentially the same thing as just a regular NAT network, like the one on the left, but the difference is the virtual machines are assigned unique IPs, and then they could actually ping each other like that. The thing with NAT networks, the one on the right, is that you actually have to assign them a NAT network, but don't worry, Luis is going to walk you through that. Lastly, let's talk about snapshots. So if you've ever been working on a homework assignment and then your computer crashes, all your work is lost, it's pretty much a bummer, right? Which is why there's a similar function for virtual machines. What snapshots do is they save the entire virtual machine state. And because of this, if something goes horribly wrong, which it often can happen in a lab environment, then you could always revert back to your snapshots, fixing the virtual machines, reverting back to when the obstruction happened. I took a picture of the snapshots I have on my machine. I have 3: clean install, guest additions installed, and try hack me ice work in progress. So these are all different snapshot names. If I wanted to, I could revert to clean install, and that would allow me to go back to my virtual machine when it was first installed, removing everything else I did, allowing me to use a clean virtual machine without having to go through the process of installing it all over again. Because of this, snapshots are really good time savers, and whenever possible, you should be looking to use them. They don't take up as much space as installing another virtual machine. They do take up some, but it's usually not relevant. So feel free to take snapshots as much as you want, but just make sure to delete the ones that you're never going to use. Now, before we go into the lab, I just want to ask if there's any questions. All right, perfect. And while Luis is walking you through the lab, feel free to ask questions. I'll do my best to answer them in the chat. And now, Luis, want to take it over?
Yes, of course. Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Luis. Very fantastic presentation, Lawrence. That was amazing. I learned a lot of new different things that I didn't actually even know. So that was good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen really quick. There we go. And so, all righty. So pretty much what we're going to be doing right now with this workshop and going through the lab is essentially giving you guys a very quick and dirty way to get this kind of like to get your Kali Linux set up and your Ubuntu set up. We have 2 different ways and methodologies that we're going to be actually setting this up. As Lawrence was talking about earlier, there are files to run virtual machines that are called ISOs, which are disk image files, and there are OAFs, I believe. Open virtualization, Ovfs, open virtualization formats, and pretty much that has its own separate installation methodology. So pretty much what we're going to be doing is kind of just going through that and trying to get you guys set up as quickly as possible, so you guys can have the weekend to enjoy your little sandboxes today. So it's going to be a really fun time, and I mean, let's just jump right into it, right? So you can see my little desktop over here. What we're going to do first, and of course, disclaimer, any questions, if I'm talking too fast, if there's anything that you guys need clarification on, please stop me. I do not mind. Even interrupt me if you need to. As I said, it's good stuff. I want you guys to get this. So let's go ahead and start and open VirtualBox real quick. So I'm just going to open it from here. I got my little app. So this is going to be the main interface you guys are going to be looking at for the most part. You're going to be interacting with this. Oh my gosh, I have so many icons up here. Let's move that over there. Yeah. So don't be overwhelmed with all these different icons and options. We're going to walk through most of this stuff. A lot of this isn't really pertinent right now, but as I said, we're just going to kind of do a very basic install. So what we're going to do first is actually install Kali Linux. So we're going to go up here. And as I said before, there are 2 different file formats. So depending on how you download it, some of you may have gone to actual offensive security and got in the ISO version, or like maybe an older version, which is a disk image, or you may have gotten the OVF. Doesn't matter. It's okay. You'll learn both today. So regardless if you download one or the other, you'll be able to install them no matter what. So let's go over here to File. I got Kali Linux as the OVF. So we're going to go to Import Appliance. We're going to come back over to this icon with the file. Click on that real quick. And I'm going to look for my VMs or wherever you stored them. Might be in downloads. You guys may have made a folder already. Just go where you guys have them. And I have Kali Linux over here. So it tells you the type right over here. And it'll give you this icon. It'll actually pop up as a disk image for the other one. And we'll see that shortly when we open up Ubuntu. So let's click on that and let's click open. And let's click next. And so as Lawrence was talking about earlier, and just touching upon that, the main benefit of OVFs for the most part is that they come with quotations, manufacturer's settings. So this is kind of like what Kali, they themselves already recommend to kind of like have and partition. So there's different resources, as Lawrence was talking about, in terms of how a virtual machine runs. And it's actually to getting and partitioning resources. And what I mean by partitioning is it divides resources within the virtual machine to, essentially interact it and make a mini computer out of it. So we have all this information right here. Don't worry about all of the specifics right now. It's okay. This stuff is mainly documentation things. So say you're like doing a penetration test for like Red Cross or something. You probably want to have documentation on where you got your distribution from, but don't worry about that. It's okay. So this is just like documentation things like your name, et cetera, et cetera. But from here, let's just click import. And just fair warning, is does by default take up 80 gigabytes of memory space. So in case you guys do get an error or anything, don't panic. That just means that's how much it's going to take by default. So unfortunately, we can't really fix that unless we get a disk image file or kind of like go into the actual settings. That's a little bit out of scope for this workshop right now. But if we have some extra time, maybe we can kind of look into it together. But just so you know, it is going to take 80 gigabytes, only downside of that. But let's just go ahead and click agree right here. I'll just talk about a little bit as this kind of loads up. So pretty much what we're doing right here, it's importing all the settings that we have that it put by default, all this stuff. So just kind of talking a little bit on while it's kind of going. Our guest OS type here is Debian. As I said before, or as Lawrence was touching about earlier, this kind of has, if we're running different, I guess, operating systems. So what we mean by operating systems is like you guys are running like Windows probably right now. So what we're installing right now is a completely different operating system. So this is actually Linux. What's running under the hood for Kali is actually Debian. So Debian is pretty much like an older version of or I guess a more stripped down version or the original version of like Linux, I guess. They kind of have different flavors is what they call them. So there's like different versions of Linux. It's a little, complicated because Linux is very old and is like open source. So there's so many versions and iterations of it. If you wanted to take this in some form of analogy, Kali Linux is like the grandson of Linux. So this has gone through many different iterations and Debian is like another partitioning of that. So anyways, though, as Lawrence was talking about earlier as well, the virtual machines do partition different pieces of hardware, so to speak. So the reason there was a question earlier talking about if it's really virtual quotations. And I mean, to an extent it isn't because it is running on like resources of what you have. But the reason it's you can say that it is virtual is because it thinks like it's its own computer. You're running a mini computer inside your computer. So it's going to act as though it is like it's a full-fledged system operating and all that stuff, RAM, resources, and everything. So the main reason we call it virtual is because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not exactly like your Windows operating system that you're working on, that you're doing all your jobs and stuff. It has to run with this hardware. This doesn't at the end of the day. Like you can run this portably wherever. But at the end of the day, it's not based on any form of hardware. It's just kind of like there's limitations on the hardware, but it's not set by anything in stone. But yeah, aside from that though, all these other settings right here, this stuff you guys don't have to worry about too much. This kind of we'll jump into and touch a little bit as the settings kind of go along. So now that we have that installed, finally, takes a little while. There is going to be a little bit of some downtime, so I'll give you guys some like history lessons or some little knowledge here and there. But here, we're pretty much just looking at that same screen that was here earlier. This has all the data right here that we were talking about, the description, the shared folders, all this other stuff. So don't worry about that too much right now. What we're going to do next is actually set up the Ubuntu, so we can kind of have both and have them ready to go so we can run them. So let's go back over here to the machine tab. Let's click on new, and then up to here. You can call it whatever you want. We can actually rename this Kali Linux too. I'll show you guys how to do that in a bit. I am a very big Scooby-Doo fan, so we will call this Scoobert. Doobert. And pretty much what we're going to do here is over to the type. We are dealing with the Linux system, so Ubuntu is based on Linux. So we're going to click on that. We're going to be looking for Ubuntu. You just scroll down over here, depending on which architecture you guys have. If you guys have a minimal one, 32, 64. If you have, I mean, for the most part, most of you guys pretty sure have 64. Let's hit that. Let's go to next. And so what this is just the allocation of RAM. So pretty much a very basic breakdown if you guys don't know what RAM is, but without going into anything super crazy, the more RAM you give this, the faster and much more responsive this OS is going to be. The less RAM you give it, the less responsive it's going to be. So Kali Linux suggests about 2 gigabytes of RAM. So it's about 248. You can bump this up to 4 if you got extra, RAM to spare around. But just know that this is going to be set. So it's actually going to take that from the host system. Not all at once, but it's going to, heftily take it. But that's okay. So from here, we'll just hit next. This hard disk section right here is just basically telling you how you kind of want to make your hard drive. This is the recommended size that it's telling you. You need at least 10 gigabytes. We don't need to worry about these settings right now. We're just going for a straightforward installation. So let's go ahead and click create. These are different virtual hard disk formats that it does support. For all intents and purposes, as you guys are like going through your different journeys in cybersecurity, you guys might be downloading different ISOs, et cetera, and you'll have more customization and freedom. And they'll probably give you more manual settings then. But for now, we're just gonna go keep it simple, keep the VDI, click this Virtualbox disk image, and let's hit next. Then we're gonna go over here to storage physical. So the main difference is between dynamically allocated and fixed size. Fixed size is basically gonna take up that entire whatever we're going to cap this at all at once. So it is going to eat that whole chunk. So you can have that if you want, if that's exactly how much you're going to want. It's not going to dynamically change or anything. So if you guys know exactly that's how much it's going to be, it's going to take it out of the chunk of the system. And I mean, it's like a set it and forget it. If you download anything else that's going to be above 81 as you're working with Kali Linux, it's going to tell you no. But dynamically allocated, that's if you guys are kind of playing around with the memory, both in terms of like your host computer and the virtual machine. Dynamically allocated pretty much means it's not going to take it all at once. As it grows, it's going to hit that cap eventually, but it's not going to eat it all at once. So it's just going to run what it needs to run right now. And as if you get more files in, it's going to keep eating away until it hits that cap. So we'll see that cap right now. But for now, for you guys barely starting out, recommend dynamically allocated. You can always delete these, by the way, too. So don't worry if you mess up. You can always start over again. So let's click. Oh, go ahead.
So do you, I'm sorry, I missed where you were talking. Should I make a virtual hard disk, like a different one for this?
Yeah. So hold on. Let's start over because I wouldn't mind going back over to the steps. So where were you at, brother? Are we here at memory size, or were you
just past that? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you would go to create a virtual image, then we would create, and then just do VDI Virtualbox disk image. Just click that setting right there. Yeah. That's gonna be all you're gonna really need right now. These are like different settings that you can have, like different formattings that it can create. But for all intents and purposes, for your personal stuff right now, and as you move along, you'll be downloading other things that might require this. But for now, it's all you need. Just click on that setting and you're good to go.
Okay, and so I have another virtual machine for a class that I'm taking. Is it going to be an issue with that at all? That one's Debian 10. And I'm wondering, is the Ubuntu thing like like a attachment basically for the virtual machine, or is that going to be an
No,
integral like
So
factor in making it?
no worries. So the cool part is that like all these virtual machines are completely separate from each other. They do not, the only really interaction they'll probably ever has if you're pinging them, or if you're having some issues in terms of like memory. So what I'll tell you what I ended up having an issue with setting up these virtual boxes, and that was just not having enough like memory on my computer. So in terms of like setting these up, these guys are going to be completely separate. So say you downloaded a program on this like on your your Linux system, and then it's not going to interact or like bleed over into your Kali Linux box. They're completely separate, so they won't touch each other in that sense. But if you do end up, say, you have dynamically allocated, or you just generally don't have enough memory, it's just not going to work. It'll literally give you an error code back saying, hey, we can't set this up because you don't have so and so amount of gigabytes to spare. So that's the only time that really is going to be a factor, but you don't really need to worry about that. The only thing you need to worry about, so to speak, honestly, is just how much space you have in your hard drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you run into any, if you run into any more problems, David, as we go into it, just let me know. Like say, hey, you know what, this thing isn't working. Just let us know, and then we can go with it. So yeah.
Okay. And then also real quick, the does Kali Linux or anything like that run any better or worse on different operating systems? Like if I wanted to do like Mac OS for my operating system instead of Windows, would it make any difference in terms of efficiency and speed?
Not really. I will say that because the operating systems are a little different, and because like the virtualization, just from like general anecdotal stuff, and just because like how complicated and different they are, you may encounter some issues in terms of like networking stuff not functioning sometimes, or some settings acting a little wonkier. It's very far and few between, but you'll probably notice them. It's going to be one of those, it doesn't affect me until it happens kind of thing. So it's going to be up to like where you hit that point, and you're probably going to go to a forum and look it up. But for the most part, in general, no, not really. If running it on Mac OS versus like Windows, there's honestly no difference, no discernible difference. You just may have to do a few extra steps to get things working, but that's the only thing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, David. Appreciate the question. Okay. So let's go forward from here. Let's go to VDI next, and then dynamically allocated next. And so from here, this is pretty much just telling us, hey, how much do you want to cap this at? You guys can run this. I mean, it told you earlier, it has to be at least 10 to run. So you can't really go any lower. It's just not going to work. Once you try to literally boot this up, it's going to be like, what? So it's going to have to be more than 10. You guys need at least 10. For whatever reason, if you guys just don't have enough memory right now, it's okay. Just follow along. This is going to be recorded, so I mean, you'll have reference for later. But just so you know, if you don't have at least 10, it's not going to run. But you can also max this out. You can put as much as you want. It's really up to you. Rule of thumb, Kali Linux actually, I mean, it wants 80, or I mean, by Kali Linux wants 80 because it's using a lot of resources, and you're probably going to be downloading a lot of programs. Ubuntu is like user friendly. It's very, it's just like running Windows and stuff. So you don't really have to give it too much if you're just running like small little things here and there. Like Lawrence was talking about, this is like a sandbox. So it's going to depend on what you're trying to use this for. So for our intents and purposes, I'm personally just going to delete this after because I actually don't like running virtual machines on this setup that I have. But I'm just going to leave this at 20, perfectly fine. And mostly for you guys too, as you guys like go along, you'll find out the sweet spot for you. And I highly recommend to keep reinstalling these so you guys can understand how this kind of goes. I've had to install this way too many times, honestly. So like I said, doesn't matter. You guys can leave that, but you need at least 20. So just leave that, whatever. That's fine. So let's just hit create. And then pretty much there we go. So now we have our two virtual machines. Let's start up Ubuntu first because there is a heavy amount of downtime in terms of it loading. So we're going to start this up first real quick, and then we will go from there. And then we'll actually go back over to the Linux machine and set that up too. So for right now, let me see if this guy's actually, yeah, there we go. There's the icon. So there's different methods in terms of how you guys can put the hard disk in. Like we said, this is a computer within a computer. So right now, what it's basically saying on the screen is, I have my little CD port open. Put a CD in there, please. So that's basically what it's telling you. So right now what we're going to do is actually insert quotations a CD into it, so it can go through the whole thing. You can do this through the settings and kind of go and just like insert it like there and have it preload. I've run into issues before where that kind of like ends up a little janky. So I kind of like just starting the VM that I'm going to use first and then putting in the ISO. So let's just click on this file right here. Let's go to add. And then we're gonna, it defaults to me here. It might default to you somewhere else, but it's gonna look where pretty much you have the most VMs in one spot. You can look for it wherever it is that you have it saved. Let's click on the disk image. This should be the version, the right version number and everything that you guys probably have already downloaded. Just hit that, let's click open. And so we have it there. We're just gonna click choose here and then we're good to go. And then we're just gonna hit start. And now our boy Scoober Doober, he gonna be running. So it's gonna take a little bit of a while. Ubuntu is like, you know, if you're starting Windows for the first time, so can only imagine how that kind of took a little bit of a while. So we're just gonna be here real quick. It's just gonna be loading up. It's okay, we're not gonna capture that. It's fine. All right, so we're just gonna kind of set that over to the side. There we go. So it's just going to be checking the disks. As this kind of goes on, we'll see. I think there's a menu after this to kind of set up some very basic things like the information on there and stuff. So we'll just kind of wait for that. So good time for a water break if you need one. I wish I had more trivia. Hope you guys are doing well tonight. Also, I'm just seeing chat and there's like 24 things here. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I missed so much stuff. Oh no. Okay, cool. So the check should be finished. If you guys are running into any problems, please let me know or let anyone on the team know. We have some very talented people in the chat right now. We're just gonna kind of wait until we can get to the informational portion here. Just take a little bit of a while. Maybe I should have put 4 gigs of RAM on here. No. Yeah, very slow. That's why we're doing this one first. It's okay. I just got a really slow computer too, so that's kind of why it fiddles with it a little bit longer. But it's okay. We'll be seeing a purple screen in a little bit of a no time. Thank you, Matthew. I love virtual machines too. All right, cool. So I'm going to get up to the setting up portion right now. Mileage may vary too. So some of you guys probably have a way better computer than I do. I got a dinosaur that's like about 10 years old. Yeah, it's running a 750. This thing is gross. Okay, so that's the magic tone right here. So come on. There we go. All right, cool. You're using a Game Boy, Alejandro. Fake. Better be diamond. Oh, wait, diamond. Better be yellow, dude. All right. So let's go ahead and just like go through the installation process real quick. So here, this is just very basic stuff. Let's go to just install Ubuntu, unless you want to do the demo version for some reason. Hey, why not? More power to you. Let's just go to install Ubuntu. If it decides to load. There we go. Keyboard layout, Danish Dvorak. Still have bad memories. Let's hit continue. Of course, we want English. All right, cool. And pretty much what we're going here for this menu we're just gonna do a normal installation. You can do a very bare bones. I'm not exactly. I've never actually done a minimal installation before. I'm not sure if it even comes with a GUI. Oh, I guess it was. Yeah, it should come with the GUI if it comes with a web browser and basic utilities. But let's just do a normal installation. You guys can have more freedom to play around with things and search for different programs and such. So let's just go with normal installation. And let's check this box. Make sure that you have this checked off. Download updates while installing Ubuntu. This is going to save us time later. We're going to still have to do a few commands. So you guys get to do a little bit of a command line today, but let's just keep this on here. You don't have to have that on. So that's completely something totally extra. So don't worry about that right now. So let's just go from there and let's click continue. And from here, I think it takes us to that other secondary menu. We can hop back over to Kali Linux and we can take a look at some of the settings and such. Wow, so sad. That's okay. So this will be, oh, there we go. All right. So now that we're at the installation type, unless you're a super mega person that has probably already installed this a million times and you know what you're doing, you can totally just like partition this yourself, custom settings. But for our intents and purposes, it says erase disk and install Ubuntu. Do not be afraid. Like we said, this is like it thinks it's a computer, right? So it's going to erase whatever's on there, et cetera, et cetera. So you can just click on that. There's technically nothing to erase because it's not running technically on anything. So it's okay. Let's just go for that. Install now. And then once we get to the next menu, don't worry about this either. It's okay. It's just telling you like how it's going to partition stuff. Just go to continue. And you guys get to OSINT me, so you know where I live. Let's hit continue. Well, hopefully you guys aren't in Europe. And I mean, if you are in Europe, cool. I don't know how you guys got in the Zoom room, but I'm proud of you. So let's go to continue. And then after that, let's go over to, so I mean, you can call yourself whatever you want. I would call myself Shaggy. Oh, all right, Armando. He gets Scuba Dubert. We can just be super meta and just call everything Scuba Dubert. All right, cool. So, oh, Jake. Oh my, Melvin, dude. Okay, you know what? Let's do Melvin. I haven't done a different name yet. Melvin Dubert. So that's just gonna give you a bunch of Melvins. Don't worry about this stuff. You can pick your things later if you want. But let's just go over to choose a password. Good job, Melvin. Proud of you too. So let's just go over to password. Rule of thumb, of course, always enforce a strong password policy. There is very, very, very rare instances where you can have vulnerabilities because it's technically connected to the internet. So unless you're a high target FBI profile that someone really wants you for, you really don't have to have a strong password policy. I mean, I don't. I just try. I use these to just get in and out, just as a tool. So it's okay. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, I'm just gonna put moo. So let's do moo. And then after that, let's go acquire a password and login. That's up to you. Oh, what's your error, David?
Oh, when I try to run it, it just says that there's no, like it can't run, and I just get a little black VM screen, and I'm wondering if I think I might have done something wrong on my initial installation.
It's okay. It's okay. If you want, we can do like a little Q&A session after, and then we can kind of we can do a troubleshooting, and we can kind of see like how see where it is that you're at. Because it may, I know for me, it's happened before where you may have run into my problem where there's not enough memory. Do you have?
No, it's the error is fatal. No bootable medium found. System halted.
Oh, okay. Was it not able to find the disk when you were installing it?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
No, it's okay.
I missed a couple of the first steps when you were installing, so I might have made a mistake there.
No, it's okay. So what we can do is we'll at the very end, I'll do like a very quick and dirty install so we can just go through that. So yeah, I'll show you at the end again with some extra time. So it's okay. It's okay. If you don't got it now, it's totally fine. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Yeah. So I'll get to it again. So from here, let's just go to require password login, and let's just click continue really quick. And now it's just gonna, so this is gonna be the longest waiting period for us. So David, if I have enough time, I might even be able to do another complete install with Ubuntu in another machine. So if I do have enough time, I'll do it pretty quick. But let's actually try to run our Kali Linux. Some of you might actually be able to run it out of the box if you guys got the instruction pack. But if you're like me and you downloaded this almost very last minute and the website got shut down, you probably weren't able to get it. So let's actually try running this. Let's just minimize Melvin Duber for a little bit. It's going to take a while to get through. So let's actually try to power this on real quick. And if you guys can't run this at the same time, it's okay. No worries. If you guys have any questions again, I can always do like some secondary run-throughs and such. So no panicking. Okay. So
real quick, are you supposed to just have the VM straight off the download like that? Like, because I don't have any icon like that off of the download. I'm wondering what the deal is there.
Oh, like this? Like, so you're not seeing this right here?
No, but I downloaded it off the internet. I don't see anything.
So usually what you would do, I'm not sure if you imported it. Did you get it from the Kali Linux website, like from there?
Yes.
Okay. So sorry, really quickly. Let's go over it again. It's fine. It's no trouble. So I'll just go over here. Just go over to import appliance. Do you see this right here when you click the file tab? David?
Yeah, got it.
Okay, cool. So click that. And then what you're going to do is hit this file icon right here real quick. Hit that. And then just go to wherever it is that you downloaded the Kali Linux to. It might be in your downloads folder if you just barely download it. I know, like for me, I have it right here. Do you see it?
Yes, but I can't select it.
Oh, really? Like you can't hit it. You can't see what I'm hitting right here.
No, yeah. I mean, I see the thing, but like it's grayed out. You know, like I can't click on it.
You know what format it is? Is it OVA or is it ISO?
Oh, it's ISO.
Oh, that's why.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's a different one. So actually, the way that we were doing Ubuntu, that's actually how we're actually learning how to do an ISO or installing the ISO. So it's okay.
Gotcha.
I'll do it again, just so you can at the very end, so we can kind of like go through it again, and so you guys can kind of understand, because ISOs are a little tricky. They do take a little bit of time to, more steps to get to the end result. So it's okay. I'll go through it again. I'll do like a super quick install of Ubuntu, and then you can just let me know. And if anyone else has any bit trouble too, please just let me know. I don't mind stopping and going over, doing a little bit of troubleshooting. I want you guys to have this good to go for yourselves. All right. So I'll go ahead and do another run through after towards the end, David. So yeah, we'll just get through this, and then I'll come back over for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so as we tried to run Kali Linux right here, it did give us that error code, or at least gave me that error code. Probably give you that error code too, unless you're super cool and got the extension pack, which I did not. So yeah, so we got an error, right? So at the details here, you can see blah, blah, blah. The implementation of the USB 2 controller not found, needs an extension pack, yada, yada, yada. If you don't need, so pretty much what this is telling us, hey, you don't have the extension pack. If you want to fix this, you got to basically disable 2.0. So you don't know what that is right now. Let's go ahead and actually look over and click the settings tab, which is this little gear icon right here. Click on that. And so now we're actually at at the settings for this specific VM, right? So we have a bunch of different tabs open over here, which is basically just giving us the basic rundown of the information we saw at that other tab earlier, and even just right here. So this is just basically the customization page. So from here, this kind of gives you, if you even wanted to change it mid, you can actually run Kali Linux on Ubuntu as well. But it will take more, it'll take more space because Ubuntu does have more applications, et cetera, et cetera. But it's okay. We're going to be using Debian for now. But you can actually customize the settings. If the box is actually turned off, you can change and allocate more RAM if you wanted to. Say you found out later, hey, I needed more of this stuff. So you can always do that too. And then after that, we have display. You can change your display settings if you want here too. You can make this megapixelated, I think, if you take down the video memory. And here, this is another way where you can just install these like straight up by using the SATA here. I might just go over that too, like at the very end, if you guys want to stick around for that too, as I do another run through of Ubuntu. But from there, we have audio settings, we got network, we got serial ports, USB, yada, yada. So let's actually fix this first real quick. So this is where our invalid settings are at. So to basically fix this, it's telling us, hey, we don't support 2.0. You don't have the extension pack. So, and it's gone. So that's pretty much all it really is. It's just we're going to be we can't transfer USBs very quickly anymore. So sorry if you guys needed to transfer like a FAT32 file anytime soon. It's probably going to take like 300 years. But anyways, that's just like mimicking the USB ports. So we're just going to put that at 1.1, click OK. And let's actually come back to the settings tab for a quick second one more time. Let's go over to network. And so what Lawrence was talking about earlier in terms of like Nat Network versus Nat, et cetera, et cetera. This is pretty much like how, if you wanted to set up like your own mini home network with these two or with any virtual machines that you have, you're going to need to make your own like Nat Network. So what we mean by that is that Nat Network is basically going to create and partition different IP addresses. So let's actually put this to the side real quick and let's go over to, I believe it is preferences. Yes. And this is some extra informational tabs like update, input. But let's go over here to network really quick. And so these are my two networks that I have right here. I made these pretty quick, but I'm going to make another one for you guys. But let's click this, because if you're going to want these to actually interact with each other. So say you wanted to SSH into, or if you don't know what SSH is, say you wanted to like create or if you wanted to like access your Scoobert Doobert Ubuntu in your Kali Linux, or ping it or send information to it or scan the system in any form of way, you're going to have to make a NAT network so that it can interact with it. And what I mean by that, just to kind of give you guys a visualization. So let's click this again. If there's a new NAT network here, let's click on that and let's actually edit it. So let's left click and press edit or space. And so we kind of come to this little screen. So you're going to have a very nice networking a workshop later. So there's going to go way more in depth than what I'm going to go into. I'm just going to give you guys a very basic run on what this stuff is. So without going into too much stuff on like what an octet is, the yada, 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 let's just go with the very basics. So in your house right now, you have a bunch of different devices connected to the internet. That's how your phone is, your computer, your TV, whatever, what have you. So with all that being said, they have, so that your router knows how to send information and interact with, to send information, so that it knows to send information to your phone, to your, your computer, your TV, or whatever. It has to have a specific name allocated to it. So there's two different ways that you can do it. IPv4 is an address, or pretty much like a name, if you want to call it, so that it knows to send information to that one specifically. It'll technically send it to the entire network, but without going into too many specifics, just know that every single piece in your house or every single device that's connected to the internet or your router or what have you has a different name. And so that they can kind of like, so that they can get that information, it needs to be differentiated. So because you have two machines here, if you don't have a network setup where it distributes two different names, it's going to treat these technically as like one device, so to speak, because they'll have the same IP address. So if you try to ping, say this, and what I mean by ping is like, say you try to send some information to it, and to try to receive anything back, it won't. It'll because it technically will count as though you're sending information to yourself. So with that being said, all we're doing right here in setting up a NAT network, this is going to partition different IP addresses to the different virtual boxes that you have. So if you wanted to experiment in terms of like creating your own little home network, this is the way to do it. You would just create one here. And so that's what we're going to do really quick. So we have NAT network 1. We can call this whatever we want. Let's do MM. Oh, you know what? I already had MM up there. So I don't know. I need a good name. What's a good name, guys?
No security?
Hey, no security.blog. I'm down. No security.blog. Okay. So we have no security.blog right here. This, don't worry about it too much. They'll be going over this later, but just know that this is pretty much telling you, because by default, Virtualbox actually has this IP setup and on its own private network, and that's what you're making. And this is just giving you the range of hosts. So it's going to be whatever or your different little computers that you have will have different names based on this range. So anyways, let's just click OK on that. And if you have any more on here, don't click them. Just uncheck those and just click check no security.blog or whatever one that you have. Just click OK. And so now this will be part of like a different network. So these should be able to ping each other, but you want to have that same setting for Ubuntu when that starts getting up too. But anyways, that's for something else entirely. It's okay. So for now, let's try actually running this. So we have all our settings and all that stuff. Let's go over here to network. And let's go to attached, and let's actually just kind of set up Nat Network real quick and click OK. And so now it's already set up to like get its own unique IP address. But anyways, let's run this. That's the main thing we're here
Make
for.
sure to set it to the right Nat network. So
Oh, yes, you're right. You're right. Thank you. I forgot about that. So I have many different networks here. You might not have a drop-down menu. It might have already defaulted because this is probably your first one. But if you didn't, just click no security.blog. The best website, the best blog. But just click that one, and that's and now it's going to be part of this specific network. Say you wanted to run like things on a different network or something like that, or you had like multiple machines that you wanted to run on different networks. You can do that too, as we showed you earlier. So we're going to be running on the no security.blog network. Let's just click OK on that, and let's actually start this guy up. So we're going to start Kali Linux up, and this should be way faster. I'm not sure. Yeah, this is going to take a while. Okay, but Kali should start pretty much way quicker since all the settings are already set up and it's like preloaded for the most part. And that's the main benefit of those OVF files, is that like those settings and all that, they come like they're really convenient for just like getting set up and coming like, everything good to go right out of the box. ISO images have to go through that whole installation process, et cetera, et cetera. But then again, Kali 2 is just a little bit easier to work with. So actually, let me see. Do I have Kali running? No, it's not running yet. Where is it? Where are you? Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry. I just had to minimize that real quick. So here's Kali. It took a full screen. You guys might have to find it somewhere. I don't know why Virtualbox likes to hide and sneakily put itself somewhere around here. But okay, this is where we're at now. So with Kali, default credentials, so just so you guys know, is literally going to be Kali for username and Kali for your password. So you ever get into CBTC, whatever, don't have default creds, kids. Just remember that. So let's click login. And there we go. We got the good stuff, huh? So this is your yes, not again, please. Bad memories. But yeah, so we're pretty much here with Kali. We got the whole shebang ready and set to go for you guys. So what we're going to be doing right now actually is teaching you guys how to do the snapshot feature. So the cool part about snapshot is that, like as Lawrence was talking about, you can go back to that original installation that you had and not have to worry about like, oh, you know what, I broke something and now I got to reinstall everything all over again, or I got to install a new Kali or like clone it or something and such. The snapshot feature is very, very useful for just being able to like experiment with stuff and not have to feel like you lost any kind of progress. So we're actually going to destroy our Kali Linux here. So before we do anything else, let us go to our tab outside here. So this is actually outside. Technically, this is your host computer. This is actual Kali. If you see the cursor change, that's how you know you're doing a different thing. So let's take our snapshot first, so we don't have to go through that entire installation process again. So just come up here to the machine tab and then press snapshot. You can also do this by pressing right control and then T. They might come with like a weird wonky sound, or it might select a few things, but you can right control, you'll see it right down here. This little thing, I don't know if you guys can see like the corner of your screen or where my screen's at, What that means is just basically the command to get back to your host computer. So as you guys can see right now, I am technically in my host computer because my cursor is white, but now I'm in Kali Linux interacting with that if it's black. So that's how you kind of know whether or not you're in Kali, not Kali, Kali, not Kali. So let's go back over to machine. Let's do snapshot. And you can call this whatever you want. I'm going to call this MM for mystery machine. And then, oh, you know what? Never mind. Let's call it fresh cut because he's got a fresh cut G. So let's do OK. Let's click OK on that. And we're cool. So it's going to save it. It's going to save the machine state. And we're going to come back to this in a little bit. So now let's mess some stuff up. So if you guys don't know how to open a terminal yet, or a command line or anything like that, we're going to teach you right now. So the keyboard control to actually start up a terminal is Control-Alt-T. And that will actually get a control terminal, which is this. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with PowerShell or any of that sort, but this is pretty much like the equivalent of it for Linux, so to speak. But anyways, you don't have to, we'll have a whole Linux course on that. So don't worry about any of the technical stuff right now. But yeah, so you can open it like that, or if you have, Kali already has it like right up here, so you can just click on it. Yeah, exactly as Alex said. So from what we got right here, what we're going to do is actually system32 this, or at least the equivalent of deleting system32. So if you guys want to follow along with me, this is the command to basically obliterate this entire thing and delete all your files and basically force Kali Linux or Linux in and of itself to destroy itself. So we're going to do sudo rm -rf -no -preserve -root, and then we're going to have a backslash right here. So let's run this. And long story short, sudo, you got to put your password in again. Hopefully you guys didn't, hopefully you guys remember your passwords, but I just left it at the default, which is Kali. Sudo, if you don't know, that just means short for super user do. It's just a safety measure. Our Linux workshop peeps will actually get into it. But anyways, let's just click enter. And there we go. It is slowly killing itself as we speak right now. Slowly, slowly dying. It's magical. I love it. It's good stuff. Oh, what? There we go. And we have officially killed Kali Linux. Dead. You can't do anything. You literally can't work this machine anymore. There's nothing that you can possibly do to restore this. The good thing is that we took a snapshot, right? So let us go all the way back. You can close this if you want, but we can just open VirtualBox again. Rest in pepperonis. Fresh cut. It's okay. So let's click OK. You can just turn it off. It's fine. So let's go back over here. Sorry for the doggo noises. It's that time right now. But let's actually come back over to our Kali machine. And so what we're going to do right here is let's go to this little hamburger menu. Yeah, I know. It's very cluttered. I'm so sorry, Matthew. Let's go over to snapshots. And we took a snapshot. And what we're going to actually do is just go back to our original installation, right? No harm, no foul. And so pretty much from there, we're going to just go over to FreshCodeG. So the current state right now, if you try to open this or if you try to press start, it will take you to that black screen of nothing. It'll literally just be like that little flashing dot forever. So that's going to happen if you do it back to current state and you start it right now. But what we're going to do is actually restore the original state. So long story short, VirtualBox is basically save that original like metadata, etc., to save that exact moment where we left off and where we took that quotation snapshot, right? So we're going to click restore and we're going to restore it. And sorry, I kind of blew over the mini setting right here real quick, but let's just click restore again. So you can create another snapshot if you want, or you can just kind of have it not make another snapshot after you create this. This is basically going to save that current state. If for whatever for whatever reason you want to look into like the eternal darkness of a blinking light, go ahead, be my guest, but I'm just not going to do that. So I'm going to uncheck that box. So I'm just going to click restore real quick. And if I am totally correct, we should have hopefully our Kali Linux running again, back in its original state. If my computer decides to want to do that. Waiting times are so long. Oh, are you alive? Yes. I keep doing that. I'm sorry, guys. But there we go. We're actually back to what we originally had, right? We can still use that. We can go back to the command line. We can do our commands, blah, 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 and we're good to go. We're back to where we first started. So it's good stuff. I know it's really dark right now. My phone is dying, so I'm sorry if you guys actually can't see me. I am the darkness. I am actually what got deleted right now. So let us actually just set this off to the side for a second. You guys want, you can actually quit out of this. We really don't need this anymore. It just to kind of like save you some resources. So we can turn this back on later. I might do a little bit of a pinging thing, but we'll see if we have enough time. I think we should though. So let's just power off the machine, save you guys some RAM. And hopefully Ubuntu is now alive. Yes. Okay, cool. So let us restart now. Ubuntu does notoriously take forever for me personally. I don't know, probably for you guys, it's probably way faster. Oh, we need a snapshot of you?
Of you.
What do you mean of you?
You said you got deleted.
My insides got deleted, dude. My soul. All right, cool. So getting back into it, let's just press enter. There we go. And don't worry, that wasn't what we were. That's not the thing you're thinking of. It's okay. We got it. We got it. It's fine. All right. Now we're just gonna wait for Ubuntu to just get back up. And what we're gonna do right now too, we're actually gonna show you guys how to install guest editions, or right? Is that saying right? I think it's, yeah, I think it's guest editions. Yeah, okay. We're going to show you guys how to install guest editions, which at the end of the day is honestly a quality of life thing. It'll basically allow you to copy and paste stuff, share files from your host computer into Ubuntu and vice versa. Really useful thing. I wish I had, because when I was first doing this, I was typing commands like literally typing like 400 like word commands manually, and I'm like, you could just easily copy and paste it and put on there. So yeah, it's a good time saver, unless you want to learn the hard way. Hey, no harm, no foul. So I ain't gonna judge you, but I'm a little lazy, and I'm pretty sure you guys want to, as you guys are running more programs and getting into cybersecurity, you want to find as many shortcuts, good shortcuts as you possibly can. So let's get into let's sign back into our little Ubuntu machine here. So I have mine as moo. We're gonna sign into Melvin real quick. Still gonna take a little bit. Man, I should have brought more water.
Hey, Luis.
Yes.
Would you recommend Ubuntu to people who are new to Linux?
I would highly recommend Ubuntu to people who are new to Linux. I would recommend installing Ubuntu many times to people who are new to Linux. Honestly, like I said, is the more, if you guys mess up on something or whatever, I highly recommend just kind of going through repeating these processes, just taking quick and easy notes. Because honestly, this stuff is really useful, especially like if you're going to do like some internship or like an IT or something. They're going to be probably running like some form of like Linux or something. So as you guys get accustomed to this stuff and like understanding how Linux works and just like going through the command lines and all that stuff, it's very user friendly and it's not as scary as you think. And that's the cool part about virtual machines, is that you guys have those snapshot features and all that stuff to break things. And if you feel like you can't, you can go back to them. But just in general, yeah, dude, Linux is super fun. It's just up to your imagination on what you want to do with it. So yeah, I highly recommend Ubuntu for like new users. It's so user friendly. It's really good stuff. What I don't recommend is Red Hat. I had a really tough time with Red Hat. that one took a while to get used to. Yeah, well, we'll have a really good Linux training, and that's going to be with I believe is that Gabe and Felipe, or is that Gabe and Justin?
I think it's Gabe and Justin.
Yes, Gabe and Justin. Heck yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Epic meme. All right, cool. So let's get you guys started on how to install guest editions, which is, oh yeah, go ahead.
Did you just do the Ubuntu single sign-on?
Single sign-on? I'm sorry. Do you mean like just like what, putting in the password or?
No, just the previous screen where it says connect your online account.
Oh,
Did you skip that?
You don't have to hit that. I'm just kind of like putting that to the side. You don't have to hit any of that. That's just like that's just some extra stuff. Yeah, no, don't worry about that. That's just like I mean, you can if you wanted to connect your things, because technically this actually right now is connected to the internet. If you wanted to like search up stuff, you can. This is just kind of like if you wanted to import things or whatever. Yeah, this is just like whatever stuff. But like, say you wanted to like hit Firefox, if this ever decides to load. There we go. I mean, you're connected to the internet right now. We can just go to Google real quick. Well, I mean, if Firefox decides, there we go. Yeah, but you're connected. You should be connected to the internet. If you're not, that might be a networking error. We can try and troubleshoot that at the end if you want. But yeah, you're connected to the internet. It's actually taking, long story short, a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's just it's actually getting internet access. So don't worry too crazy much about that stuff. So it's okay. So let us just get started on getting guest editions in. So let's actually open up a terminal real quick. So Control-Alt-T, or you can actually just, I know it's not like what is it called, like Kali. So each distribution is going to be a little different. But you can just go up here to Activities tab, click on Terminal, and just click there. You can even save it and favorite it if you want to, and just have it over here. You can just left click on that terminal thing that you saw earlier and just favorite it, and it'll actually be over here too. But if not, Control-Alt-T, highly recommend getting used to that. You're probably going to be opening a lot of terminal lines. But from here, really what we're opening this for is just to kind of do a little process, because we're going to run a few commands. If you're like me, some of you guys might be able to just run this. So if that is you, awesome. If not, this still helps you because you should probably have your Ubuntu up to date and updated. So let's just actually run those commands anyway, just to kind of get you guys set up with the infrastructure for it and kind of get used to a little bit of just kind of like getting comfortable with typing in here. So the first command that we're going to run is actually called Sudo Apt Update. And what this is going to do, just type in that password that you originally had. And this is just going to go like, it's a very dry run. Actually, you know what? I don't know very much the difference between update and upgrade.
I could
Yeah, I was going to
jump
say
on that. The update, what that's going to do is that's just going to update the lists of packages, because you can think of Windows versus Linux. So with Windows, you have Microsoft where you get your updates. And then with Linux, it's obviously not run by a single company. So it is different. And distributions come with sources lists. And those sources lists are then used to get packages when you download and install things on your Linux. And so if you're doing apt update, that will then update your list of packages from the sources that you have. And so that you have the latest list and you can install and download the latest software. And when you run upgrade, what that's going to do is it's actually going to upgrade everything that has a newer version that you have installed.
awesome. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it, Alex. And so the next command that we're going to be running is Sudo Apt Upgrade. It's going to be a little bit more extensive, as Alex was talking about. The processes are a little bit more. You can just click Y or yes. And then, yeah, so we'll just let the processes run and then just go through the whole file list, et cetera, getting the new packages and the new versions. This one is going to take a little bit longer, not too crazy long. So that's a good part because we actually went through the installation of getting new updates and stuff. So it'll take a little bit less time. But from here, we're going to have a little bit of a test of the command line. We're going to run a little bit of a long command. 47%. So we'll just wait for that to go through. That's what I'm talking about. Shoo! Yeah. That's the real Linux class, guys. We got schooled here now. All right, this should be almost finished.
If there's a second of downtime, I just wanted to say, if you guys joined our meeting from my bar, or you got an email from us, then make sure that you're in our Discord, because that's our main platform for communication. That's where the recording is going to be, and all the announcements going forward as well. So I'll drop the link in chat for you.
Yeah, and please, if you guys have any more questions, as you guys like outside of the workshop, like after this is finished, please feel free to reach out to us. We love working with this stuff, obviously. So yeah, just please reach out to us, either myself or Alex or whomever. We're part of the e-board. You can reach out to us at any time. We can definitely always help you out with any secondary questions that you have, whether it's installation, et cetera, et cetera. So from here, after we got both of those commands ready to go, we're going to run a little bit of a longer command. And this one is going to be basically setting up, I want to say, the architecture to be able to allow guest editions to run. Because sometimes you might, if we were to run guest, or at least for myself, if I were to run guest editions right now, it will encounter an error, and it will say like fatal error, kernel, something such isn't a, it's not running, please install Perl package, etc. So what we're doing right now is actually updating everything so that we know for sure that we have all the latest up-to-date stuff. And right now what this is going to do is build up the architecture for guest editions to basically be able to run in general. So right now we're going to do sudo apt install build dash essential dkms Linux. Oh, okay. And Lawrence, you always beat me to stuff. Why do you do that to me? Dash headers dash money sign uname.
Not to interrupt, I think after your Linux, do you need a space between Linux dash header?
Oh yeah, my bad. Thank you, Ben. Yeah, Linux dash headers. I think that should be good to go. Let's run that. Okay, cool. And then, yeah, let's just press yes. It's building. And then after this, we're going to go back up to our little settings up here, and we'll fiddle around with a few little things. But after this, the good part too is you can just run the same exact process over at Kali Linux. Some of you guys might already, Kali Linux might already have that bidirectional function, like good to go. I know for VMware, like when I downloaded Kali Linux on there, that one already had like bidirectional, like by default. I'm not sure why. Sometimes VirtualBox will have that. Like I know I downloaded it on my laptop, and I already immediately had like bidirectional right off the bat. But for some reason, I guess on my older hardware stuff isn't. It just depends. But the good thing is that you'll know how to do it now. So whenever you encounter this issue again, you'll know how to tackle it on.
Do you mind scrolling up to the command you typed in?
Oh yeah. Which commands were you looking at?
Just the very last one, the sudo.
Oh yeah, this one. It's actually I'm not sure if you can see it on my screen right here. Lawrence did put it.
Yeah, I see it right there.
Yeah. Do you want me to stay on there for a minute?
Yeah, just real quick.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
It's also in chat also.
Yeah. It's okay. I'll keep that highlighted over there. Either way, this one's still taking a while. It doesn't like me, Alex. I'm sorry. It knows.
You gotta make your VMs fear you.
You gotta whip them up into shape, man. That's right. That's what I'm talking about. It's okay. You guys will be whipping up yours into shape anytime. Pretty much over the weekend if you guys have some extra downtime. So that's the good stuff about this. So now that we got that all set out of the way, let's actually go back up over here to yes, exactly as Justin says, fear of the gods into them. Let's go back up over here to devices real quick, and let's go not into insert CD image yet, but let's actually do this little tab right here called shared clipboard, and let's go bidirectional. And let's go again one more time, and let's do drag and drop, and let's do bidirectional. So as Alex stated earlier, pretty much what we're doing right here is just to allow the VM to interact with our host computer and vice versa, so that we can actually copy and paste and like share files simultaneously without having to be like, oh, okay, you know what, I gotta like send this through an email, or some arduous stuff. Because like we said, this is the good part about this is that it's software, right? At the end of the day too. So it allows for that, manipulation to happen. So the other good thing too is just to be able to allow for that interactivity. So like we said, it is treating it like it's two computers, but the good thing about that is that there's software issues to deal with this. So let's go ahead. And now that we have those two settings good to go, we're going to click we're actually going to just hit reboot, or we'll type reboot and hit that. You can always also just turn off and turn on your machine. So I'm just going to hit reboot, because then that means we don't have to like go back here and then sign it on again. So you can just type reboot in there and just click enter. And yeah, it'll restart the machine real quick.
Which setting did you click when you did the drag and drop? Was it host to guest or guest to host? Or
Yeah.
bidirectional?
So just come up here to devices. It just come up here to shared clipboard and drag and drop, and just hit on bidirectional. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. No worries. No worries. Yeah, that's true. Alex is right. There will be some OSs that do not have guest editions that are able to allow for that. So do you have any examples, Alex, of like which ones might not actually run like guest editions or something?
Oh, I think anything that you install from an ISO probably shouldn't have it.
Oh, really?
Sometimes I think if you're just installing a clean one, then it probably won't have it.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, that's true too.
But like OVAs, for example, how we were installing the Kali one, that already has some pre-configured stuff, like the settings you were showing off. So as part of that, I think they also package in some stuff for VirtualBox.
Gotcha.
And you also choose which one you want to run on their website. Like they have an option for VMware and for VirtualBox. So they have different tools as well.
Thank you. Yeah, we can take a look at that too if we have some extra time as well. Because there's also like different distributions of Kali Linux and how you want to run it too. There's like bare metal and a bunch of other ones. But you guys can explore that, of course, once you guys have most of this stuff set up and you kind of get acclimated. You can always look into it too, and we highly suggest to. So now that we got all that stuff out of the way, we can now finally run our guest edition. So I'm just going to open up a terminal just to kind of, so you guys have reference to see what's going on in the background. Because I mean, you can just technically run this and it'll like not have anything show up. But we'll go back up here to devices real quick, and then here, insert guest edition CD image. And it should be running right now. Yes. So let's click run. And then put your password in again. And yeah, so it'll pretty much, it should be good to go from here. Huzzah. Man, I know it's already nighttime, but it is not getting any less hot in this room right now. Oh, this is amazing. Yeah, so more water breaks for you guys. That's the good part about this workshop.
Yo.
Yes. I do.
So, hi. Upon downloading the proper Kali Linux thing and importing and everything, now I'm getting a bunch of alerts about I'm almost out of memory. So I'm wondering, is there some setting or something that I can do to fix that?
So like I said, I think you may be running into maybe the issue that I did, and that was just like generally. So let's try to see something real quick. If you can, go to your file manager, and then just go to your what is this? Just go to like your local disk, so your main. Just go to properties real quick, and then check how much you have of free space. Because like setting these two up, that's why I don't run. Yeah, don't look at me like that, Alex. What? Don't judge me, okay? No, but yeah, so I have like I said, I got like a really potato computer. So that's why I don't run virtual machines on this thing. So like I said, when we were talking about it earlier in terms of like how the partitioning works for virtual machines, we cap this out. So Kali Linux will eat 80 gigabytes immediately. So before I had this, I had like, I think 200 gigabytes free, and with, I mean, not 200 gigabytes, but I had like, I think like 150, but it ate most of that already, as you can already see. So like I'm saying, you may have to free up some space. You may have to find some workarounds. If you have like 2 Kali Linuxes, maybe delete one and make sure you delete all files, because that'll actually free up the space again. But yeah, so as we said before, like when you guys install these things, just be aware of how much memory it's eating, because that was the first problem I encountered. I found out, that's how I knew my computer was a potato, was because it couldn't run more than Kali Linux, probably, basically. So just be aware of that as you guys move forward with installing this stuff, because it is it is pretty hard. Yeah, so if you don't need it, yeah, you can always delete the Kali ISO too if you don't need it. Good job, Gabriel. That's why you guys are better than me. That's why I'm proud of y'all. That's why we're doing this workshop, because you guys got the resources. That's the good stuff here. But yeah, like I'm saying, just be aware. That's a common issue, and that's one of the first ones I ended up running into.
Yeah,
but
it says I have currently 21.12 gigabytes available of 121.02 gigabytes.
mhm.
But like that number is steadily falling, and I don't know why.
Interesting. Check the dynamically allocated.
Is the VM installing?
I don't think so. No.
Is your Virtualbox open?
Yeah.
What if you close it? Does it keep taking up the space anyway?
Let's find out. Wow. Yeah, it's still going down.
Wait, do you maybe have like a download going on in your browser? Could that be it?
I shouldn't. I don't think so. I'll close my browser real quick. I mean, I don't show any downloads going currently.
Yeah, it could be a background download or something. Is
But
the whole ISO downloaded yet? Or
yeah, it
I mean
should be.
or the OVF? That's okay. If you want, because we're pretty much like at the end right now, so we can kind of like go through like a share screen if you want to. Like we can troubleshoot that real quick. Because we're pretty much like at the end. This is what I was just trying to get through to get you guys. So if you want, let's go ahead and finish real quick, David, and then we'll come back over and check out what issues you're having. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
No worries, no worries. Okay, so pretty much with that, let's just hit return, and we should now be able to copy and paste anything now. So I got what? Let's just do check real quick, and let's actually Control C or what have you, and you should be able to copy and paste URLs, notes, whatever. Oh, or maybe not. Oh, my bad. Sorry, guys. After you run that, we got to reboot one last time. I am a liar. Sorry. I am a very, very dirty liar. I don't know why it does that. I'm a dingle. But let's actually reboot this one more time. So open up another control terminal, press reboot, or just turn it off and on one more time. Sorry. So let's hit reboot. And after, it should be able to do copy and paste and share files and such. So sorry if you guys are looking. I don't know if you guys have C++, but there you go. For whatever this question was, you guys got a free pass today. that was your token for the for the whole workshop, guys. All right, we're just gonna wait for Ubuntu to come back. cool. Let's sign back in real quick. Back to TOS. What are they gonna do? Sue me? It's okay. That's why we're security professionals. We're gonna blur their name out. Like this is an exercise, guys. I'm showing you the good stuff right now. That's gonna be posted. Is it really? That's great. It's okay. What check? What check? We're good. We're fine. We're gonna do it. We're gonna have a great time. All right. So let's open back up our terminal and then let's just actually copy and paste that real quick. Oh, is he? Heck yeah, dude. All right. Yeah. Let's just Control C and we should be able to copy this. And paste it. There we go.
Excuse me.
Yeah. What's up?
Something happened when through that last command. It says it's not syncing, unable to mount root on unknown blocks. It just like went black. It was working. I entered the command and then.
Oh, you hit reboot when you were hitting reboot to restart it again.
Yeah.
So right now the whole entire screen went black.
Well, it just has a bunch of numbers and it just says unable to mount root FS on unknown blocks.
Oh, okay, but there's nothing like critical, right? Like you can still move around and kind of like interact with the GUI.
I can move around. Yeah, it's just decoding failed and now the Ubuntu just won't run.
Oh, okay. No worries. Then just click out of the terminal, or you can press the type the command clear. I don't think that has a big pertinence.
Well, I'm not even in the terminal. I can't boot up Ubuntu at all.
Oh, at all. Oh, whoa, that's wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We'll handle that right now too, because we're about to get to the Q&A session. Because that's pretty much that was the whole shebang. Yeah. So So let's actually. Yeah. So we'll get to you right now too, Mike. We'll go in order. We got tickets now. we're gonna be Best Buy for a little bit. It's okay. Don't worry. No worries, Mike. It's okay. So let's so pretty much from there, guys, you should be able now to copy and paste URLs, any kind of text backwards and forwards. So yeah, if you guys want to open up a terminal and throw it back over here, you can do that. You can copy that. If you wanted to copy and then just go open a new tab and then bam, there you go. So you should be able to do that bidirectionally now, and you can run these same commands and same processes back over to Kali Linux and have guest editions installed there. So that pretty much concludes our workshop over today. If you guys wanted to, well, actually, because we're kind of running a little bit tight on time, and I want to get to any issues you guys might have, we can just end it here. I think it would be a good time to end it here. But yeah, so that's pretty much our whole little shebang. Do I have? Yeah, where the Google slides at? But yay! So we're pretty much over to Q&A time. So very big thank you for you guys coming in today. Of course, if you guys haven't joined the Discord, please join the Discord. And if you guys can, take some naming conventions, change your nickname if you can, like as our sacred Dylan, Sardine fan. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole thing. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to stick around. If you guys want us to help you troubleshoot some stuff, I'm going to be sticking around a little bit longer. Of course, we'll be using these last 15 minutes. If you guys are curious on like what's going on with David and Mike's, we'll be going over that right now too. So yeah, good stuff. Very happy to have had you guys. Me and Lawrence really appreciate the good turnout. And we're really excited to have you guys finally have these tools in your hands to be able to mess around with. Please, highly encouraged to get this stuff. Go on Hack the Box. Go on Try Hack Me. Take these small little things and just put them to use. And don't be afraid. Take snapshots frequently, and just remember to have a fun time. It's going to be great. You guys are going to have a really great time. But yeah, that's pretty much concludes our presentation. You guys have any questions you want to go over real quick that are not IT that we're going to go over? We will get to you, David and Mike. Thank you so much. Love. Okay.
Oh, actually, if Jose is still here, I want to answer his question again. He asked if it needs dedicated hardware, then is it still virtual? Emily had a really good answer for that. She said something like hypervisors use a thin Linux OS even on bare metal. So yeah, there's your answer. Even on type 1 hypervisors, which are bare metal, there's still going to be a really thin Linux operating system that interacts between the hardware and the hypervisor, which means like it's not exactly a direct connection because of that thin Linux operating system. Just wanted to clarify that. Didn't want to spread misinformation.
And I'm sure we all appreciate it. I know I do. That's why you're my hero, Lawrence.
Oh, wow.
But cool. I guess if there's no questions, we can pretty much end it here. Do you want me to stop recording, Alex? Or
Yep, absolutely.